pleasure to finally meet you, Selina. I feel like, we've been friends for a long time, and I want my viewers to know that every year for many years, Selina has sent me the most amazing gift package.
And you have all these newsletters that you've written for in my newsletters.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, my goodness, that's amazing. And so Selina just published this book in her element, which is, it's not only about sea salt, but if you think about it, I was just listening to a report of a Polish trucker from Canada who came to the United States. Actually, no, he's from Poland. He came from California. His father used to drive a truck in Poland, but didn't own the truck. And the whole series is called Salt of the Earth, the whole series. And I saw a meme that in the last 2 years, we've discovered that we need truckers and farmers way more than we need actors and athletes. Mm-hmm. And I believe that your life's work is quite literally about the salt of the earth. Mm. So if we were, and I remember the first time I read about Celtic sea salt, mm-hmm. and I think I learned about it from Lynn August, who was life-changing way, way back in the day. And I noticed, that she has written in your book here a wonderful endorsement. And I worked with Lynn way, way back, her endorsement, and realized the importance of the minerals and sea salt. But I was enchanted with the harvesting of the salt from this special area of France. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, absolutely. That's the first original salt that we, the founder, Jacques Delangre, started bringing in.
Yeah.
And it's like a labyrinth. It's laid out like a labyrinth where all the salt flats are. But when Jacques when he first went there and he discovered it, a lot of the artisans had moved away because people were into conventional salt. So the art was really lost. And every salt flats takes 7 years to be able to, procure and to create the right salt with the right mineral composition. So it was nervous because he was getting ready to tell the world about this salt, but they didn't have that much capacity to fill the orders. And it would take 7 years for one salt flat to be able to build that capacity. So it was a very interesting dilemma that he was up against. And he actually started a membership called, the Grain and Salt Society membership.
Yes,
he said, all the members are the ones that's going to get the salt if we can't keep up with the demand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I was a member of that, way back. Yeah. And then I remember hearing about it. So there was the gray salt and there was the flower of the sea and there was. Okay, so what happened then after that when, he's sort of rescuing a endangered species as a way, really an endangered resource. So what happened after that?
Well, people like Lynn August and you and Dr. Bruce West and William Campbell Douglas and Whitaker, these people got a hold of this information, started writing about it in their newsletter. And all of a sudden, Jacques and Yvette went to the post office and there were boxes and boxes of envelopes with $5 in it because everybody wanted a pound of salt for $5. and it was really scary. And that's when he says, oh my gosh, I want to make sure that the people that are, are here first, they get it. So that's when he started the membership. But he was able to work with the cooperative and get the capacity up. And now it's a thriving region. When I go to visit them, they all stand in line to applaud us because we rebuilt the region.
Wow. I actually think that's a model for where we're going all over the planet. That's a model, but it's going to be resources in little areas. It's not going to be a big multinational thing, but boy, is that ever exciting. That is so amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
But
my intuition told me that, anything could happen and something did happen. There was an oil spill there. And, and this was in 2002. and it was very scary. They had to stop all of the, all of the production of salt, and they had to clean it up and everything. And, I got a message from God, you better make sure you have the same kind of salt that you are being able to source from other places, just in case something could happen, because you just don't know what could happen to the supply. And so I've spent all these years just looking for salts from all over the world that measure up to that Celtic sea salt, mineral content and pH that Jacques said that we were supposed to eat.
So tell me where the other regions are.
Okay. One is in Guatemala, and it's like a Mayan salt. And that salt, when I first visited there were some things that I had to improve on the quality of the way they were harvesting, but that is one of them. And that one is actually lower in sodium and higher in calcium than the Celtic sea salt. So, it's interesting. If Jacques was alive today, he would be right where I am and be doing all of this, and I was shocked because I actually thought it was the gray that made the mineral composition.
Yeah,
I realized it isn't. It's really, it's all about how long the salt crystallizes in each salt flat, and that depends on how strong the sun is in that region. So there are so many elements of all these different methods of harvesting that play a role in the right composition of the salt. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Then we have one from Kona in Hawaii, and that comes from 2,000 feet below the surface of the water. And I was at a trade show, and this pharmacist came to me and gave me a little vial of salt, and it was so white. And I thought, all right, I'll send it to the lab, because that's the first step that I do. I just send it to the lab, and it has to have a nice composition. And I sent it there. And when I got the results back, I said, how could this be a pH of 10? I've never seen anything like that. Yeah. And the calcium was so high. And I talked to the lab person. I said, I really want you to do this report again. But the research showed me it's the coral reef in the Hawaiian Islands that makes the alkalinity so high. And that's the salt that we have, the Makai pure salt that we bring in from Hawaii. And and then we have another one that is from Spain. And this one I just found out about, and it's a high potassium salt. And, it's funny how we have, Jacques in his books and everything has said, mine salt is not a good salt. Well, even though I was introduced to this amazing cave salt, I was reluctant to even go visit it, because that's what I thought. Well, I did take the time to go visit this. And it's a region in Spain where the Mediterranean Sea had come over the land, but it came back into the ocean. But when it came back, it made a pocket of an ocean underwater. So there's like this seawater underneath the ground of this mountain. And it actually, when it rains, the mountain grows. So it's still sustainable salt, but it is the largest source of potassium from the world. This salt has so much potassium in it. It's this one right here, and it has so much potassium. It's just off the charts of how much potassium. And it really tastes good. Nothing's added, nothing's removed. This is exactly how it comes out of this cave. And then that's another one. So it's pretty exciting to be able to explore and take my my kind of skepticism and turn it into, wow, that is really a good salt. But I spent so much money. I spent $18,000 last year to have every element of each salt analyzed to see the whole mineral profile, because I have a big responsibility. I have all these people behind me that trust my salt, and I want to make sure that it is what I say it is. So I spent a lot of money to get that back. And I was actually shocked at some of the assumptions turned into facts. For instance, for years we thought that the fine ground, which is not the coarse one, was lower in minerals. The analysis didn't show that. The fine ground came out where it was just as much minerals. There was no compromise at all in the minerals when I got the analysis back.
Wow. What lab do you use?
It's Midwest Lab.
Okay. What about Himalayan? That's the big thing, the Himalayan pink salt. Tell us about that.
It's funny because I read an article in the Prevention magazine way back in the late 90s, and it was talking about this salt that had all these properties. And I said, well, I got to explore that. So I found a source and I had some shipped to me, and I was out of town or someplace, and they said, the shipment on this is going to be about, $1,000. And I said, I just ordered a sample. How could it be that? Well, when I got the shipment in, they had these big lamps, these everything. And I went, that's not what I imagined. That's not what I wanted. But I took the salt, sent it to the lab, and it was about 98% sodium chloride, and the pH was about 7. So I thought, it didn't make it up to the standards, and I just kind of, whatever. I'm glad that I researched that. Dr. Northrup, overnight, our phones were ringing off the hook. Tell us about the Himalayan salt. I don't know what happened, but it was a trance across the nation about the Himalayan salt. And I couldn't figure it out. I thought, well, maybe they have a salt that I'm not aware of. So I kept doing more and more research, trying to find other sources. I have 3 analyses here that show the same profile. So I still confused of the people's reaction to it. I'm just really confused about it. Well, then I was in Haiti looking at another source in Haiti, which I invested a lot of money in, but Haiti has been hit so hard, I couldn't keep investing the money into the source of Haiti. But while I was there were some people there, and they said they were from like the Peace Corps or something. And I said, well, I want to go see this salt in the Himalayan mountains. He goes, you mean Pakistan? I went, well, I guess, yeah, it is Pakistan. They said, it's not a real safe place to go. And so I never have made it to that source. But I'm still blown away that Himalayan, there's even videos saying Celtic sea salt versus Himalayan salt that I didn't even put out there. And it has made such an impact on the world. And I'm not even sure how it started and how it's kept going for so many years.
Well, there's, now there are all those places, where you've got slabs of it that you can use for cutting boards. It's pink, so it's pretty. Yeah. And then the lamps, it's supposed to cleanse the atmosphere and all of that. And it may do that, who knows? Right. But you're talking about, for cooking, for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it is interesting that it's sort of like a dream spell. It's almost like a trance that happened with the pink, because it's pink, right? So it's pretty.
Right, exactly.
And, so there's that. And then everyone has the salt lamps and the this and the that and the other thing. So what you're telling us, which, I'll make sure the world knows, is that the profile of the salts that your company offers, you can trust, period, end of story.
I will share every analysis I have with everyone and anyone.
How do they mine the Kona salt?
That is interesting. They have a big, huge pipe that goes 2,000 feet right off the island. It's interesting. These islands it's rare to have a land that goes so deep right off the coast. And so they extract this water up. They actually air condition their building with the cold water that comes up. They use that to air condition it. And then they take this water and they put it in, they call it a salt hut. And it's a big dome like this. And they put it about, 4 or 5 inches deep of water. And there's a fan that circulates the air. And then it crystallizes into the crystals that we're getting. Well, they had to do something else, because every time there was a big wind, that salt hut would fall over and they'd have to rebuild it. So now they have these tunnels that they put, it's a long tunnel and like a tube, and they put the water in the tunnel, and then they have the fan blowing and circulating the air out of it. And then that's how they're crystallizing it now. And it's as easy as that.
Wow. So have you created a little cottage industry there as well?
Not really. I mean, I source from them. I'm sourcing from their from where we get it, but I have not created like any industry or anything. I just source it from them and bring it in.
Okay, so it's nothing like what happened. Describe the coast in France, isn't it? It's like Brittany, is that right?
It's in Brittany, and that is really interesting. They have a little castle with this, water around it, because during the wars and everything, that's how they protected their little kingdom. And it's when you go to Brittany or get on, that's really where it's from. When you go there and you go to the restaurants just in this little tiny tourist region, you'll get the gray salt. As soon as you go just 2 miles out, they got the table salt right on the table at all the restaurants. I don't even think they understand the preciousness of their salt. Even
Probably not.
Yeah,
Probably not. That
exactly.
makes a total sense.
Right.
And then did you have any trouble importing it, with where we had all these container ships like stuck out there? I don't know if they're still out at sea. You'd hear about the 8, 9, 10 container ships in Savannah Harbor waiting to unload. Did you have any trouble getting the salt in the last, say, 6 months?
You really want to hear the truth?
I do.
Okay. We ran out of light gray salt last week, just for that reason. We do have some coming in by next Friday, but I have been in my prayer bubble for 10 days because, the capacity is scaring me. It really is. I'm really trusting that God's going to continue it flowing, and our containers usually cost us about $5,200 per 40-foot container to come in. They're $20,000 per container to get in here now.
Oh.
And we have, even my director of marketing, Stephanie, she said, why don't we try to air freight it in? But it was just crazy because it's such a heavy commodity. We couldn't air freight it in, but we have 14 purchase orders waiting to get on the ship that they can't even get it on the ship right now.
Oh.
So I need everybody's prayers. Please pray for our salt to get here.
Oh, I frankly think that all of us who haven't been in the prayer bubble are moving in there, because we know that's the only thing.
It is it. That's it. I can call my mentors, but nobody could do anything but prayer right now.
It's right. Isn't it true?
Yeah.
And I was on a Zoom last night with Dr. Carrie Maude and her group and Dr. Paul Goslin. And in terms of the medical situation where we find ourselves, it's the same. It's like we do not have an on-the-ground, 3-dimensional response to the medical problems that people are having. So the only thing that's going to work is prayer. The only thing.
That's it. So
you started and you saw this salt and you saw how important it was. And I remember, the Grain and Salt Society was very much like, it was in the days before Whole Foods. I remember Erewhon. Yeah. I used to work with Michio Kushi, and I would sit with him during his consultations. And there was Erewhon and the macrobiotic restaurants in Boston. And when you went to a food co-op, it was a lot of bins of grains and so on with moths flying out of them and all. And then suddenly now we're in Whole Foods. Like suddenly it's become this massive industry, most of which I don't trust at all, because I know that you came from that same place as me. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to verify this. This is what it takes to get the right stuff. It's not a massive, we're not bringing in bulldozers to get the salt.
Right.
It takes some skill. The people who harvest that salt in Brittany are skilled, correct? And to know how to.
That's why they were nervous, because you can't just go there today and do it. I've actually brought people from Brittany to other places to help them to learn how to harvest it correctly.
Yeah. See, this is not going to be massive, factory farming. Right. For salt or anything else. And I think that humanity is right on the brink of that system is going away, that factory farming. And this is what's coming up. So you and me and people like us just have to hold that line in the prayer world until it comes into the 3-dimensional world. And I think that that's what's going to do it. Like somehow, there will be some ship, and for some reason you get the stuff on there and no one could have told you how, and it's because some purser knows somebody, and that's the way it's got to work.
It's the relationships, Dr. Northrup, because I mean, we exploded. We grew maybe 37% during the whole, whatever we want to call it.
Right.
And it was like we were just thinking, oh my gosh, how are we going to keep up with these orders? And my production workers were exhausted, and I was having every department go out there and filling the orders, and it was so scary. But the blessing of these relationships that I've cultivated is they all said, you're first in line to get these orders before anybody else, any of our other customers. And, if I could say anything about running this company, it's about the relationships that's made it what it is today. It's just about the relationships.
Isn't it at the end of the day? And the other thing that's happened in the last 2 years is you kind of know who the inner circle relationships are and who they're not. So it literally has been a winnowing process to know who the people are that you can trust. Now, one of the things that I've always been happy with is that Amazon carries your rosemary Celtic sea salt combination. I tell everyone, this is my secret ingredient. So I want the whole world to know that rosemary Celtic sea salt combination, I buy it, it's just got to be there all the time for anything, eggs, salad, you name it. Can you tell us how you make that?
Actually, we found a farmer in California. They grow the rosemary themselves. It's a cute little organic couple in California. And my daughter and my niece both visited them. And it's funny, when they first visited them, they knocked on the door, and when they opened the door, all this smoke came rolling out. And you know what kind of smoke that was? It was like the cannabis smoke that they went, whoa.
Yeah. The old hippies. Yeah.
Exactly, the hippies. And, but it's just this couple in California. And sometimes they have a hard time keeping up with us, with our demand. And that's really how they do it. But it is a very special process that they do, that when they use the rosemary plant and they actually blend it, and actually the oils kind of saturate the salt and all of that. And they really have an amazing process of the way they make it.
Well, that makes total sense to me, because that stuff is magic. It is magic. So I want everyone to know about that. And tell us about some of your other, one of the things that I love about your company is that you have expanded, you try other products. So there's the kind of, at Hay House, they always call Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life. That was like the wash and set. Like if you go to a hairdresser, that was like the blowout thing. That's the standard. It's the center of the whole deal. But then you have, you've tried some other products to bring in other people, to prosper other people who are doing good work.
And I love that. The newsletter and the catalog was my heart and soul. And I loved giving people the opportunity to tell their story and then to be able to sell their products. And unfortunately, since Amazon has been born, it has been difficult to compete with Amazon. So we have narrowed that. But when there is a new product that I want to introduce to the world, I will definitely use my platform to do it. But so then, I was just asking God, what do you want me to do to expand the company in the next couple of years?
Right.
And I just got a strong message, keep it in the same category, which is the seasoning category, but bless the world with not just sea minerals, but land minerals too. And so, I sent you for Christmas this new super seasoning that we have right now, and I have it in herby and plain. But what I did was I just kind of just prayed about what are the most special super nutrients, and I put there's four different seaweeds in there, dulse and wakame, and there's 12 mushrooms, shiitake and dandelion leaf, kale, alfalfa, chiso, which chiso gives it that really good flavor, raspberry leaf, nettle, rose hips, moringa, and I put all of this in there. Then I camouflaged it with the seasoning. So, and another reason why I did this was I noticed a lot of my relatives weren't getting superfoods in their diet.
Yeah.
And I thought, how can I play a part in that? And they were not going to make a shake in the morning, and they're not going to blend anything up. And so what I have done is I put it all in this, and people don't even know it's in there. They season it and they don't even know it's in there. So that's something that I was really just guided from spirit to bring forth. And we kind of call it our sea land nutrition, because it really has kind of, taken all of the different super properties. There were some things I couldn't put in there. I could not camouflage ashwagandha. That is a flavor I could not camouflage. So I wasn't able to put all the superfoods in there. But I'm really proud of this product because I just feel like it was spirit led. Of that. And then we have another one, this product called, it's Aquan Matrix. And Jacques actually introduced this product years ago, but it was in a glass ampule. I don't know if you ever remember the little glass ampule.
Yes, I do remember.
Yeah. Well, we had a hard time getting that into the country. The FDA kept holding it up. What is this product? What is this, application? And so I had to surrender. I didn't have the capital to keep fighting the FDA and sitting at the port and writing the Congress people and saying, it's just seawater, please let it through. And so I kind of let it go. And then one of the people that worked for the lab in Spain contacted me, and he said, hey, Selina, I'm doing my own thing, and I'm doing it with the same product, but we're bringing it not in the glass ampules, but in these little to-go things, and you can just rip it off and drink it. So we've come forth with this new Aquan Matrix, and it's just bioavailable. It's really fantastic because you don't have to mix it with anything. You can just put it in your mouth, and it's completely available right away. And it actually, I went on the boat where they get this. They have this satellite, like a screen on their boat, and they look for a concentration of the phytoplankton in the ocean. And they can see this concentration, and that's where they extract the water out. And they have done lab things of the water extracted from where the phytoplankton is and where it isn't. And it's more bioavailable where the phytoplankton is, like it's pre-digested.
Yes.
So it goes right into the system right away. So this is another product we're excited about bringing in right now. We're very proud of that one.
Oh, well, that is good for me to know, because, I can tell my whole audience about this kind of thing, because these are all what I love about your stuff. It's all really right from the earth. It's natural, but it's very potent. So these are, the superfood stuff, and you've got these relationships. And so the relationships, the love, all of it goes right into the products. Does your family work for you? Your kids, are they carrying on the legacy?
Well, my sister is the CFO. My niece, which is Jacques' granddaughter, Stephanie, you just met her.
Yep.
She's the director of marketing and sales. And one of my nephews works in production. My daughters are kind of on their own. Like my one daughter, she's in Florida, and she has a Pilates studio in Florida. She moved from New York, you know why, and she's in Florida.
That's where my daughter moved, where the grandchildren. She calls herself a political refugee. Yep.
Yeah, that's what my daughter is.
Yeah.
And my other daughter just went through, she has 2 children, and you talked to Carla about her daughter Maya, and she just is studied under Marissa Peers and learned how to do the hypnosis therapy. And she's into that on her own, where she's just a real angel, and she really helps people. So she wants to continue helping people like that. So really my daughters are not involved with the company, but my niece is almost running it. I mean, Stephanie, she's really taking the role of, amazing granddaughter of Jacques and just running with it.
Oh, I love it. It's like the DNA of
absolutely,
the whole thing continues.
Right.
That's really beautiful. Now you're right in Asheville, correct?
Yes. Yep. Up in the mountains in Asheville.
Yeah, which is a phenomenal place to be.
It is really
so would you say that, from the very beginning, this is an intuitive business? It's almost like with women, what I say is we have the womb space within our own bodies that we give birth to children with and through. But I also believe that women like you then extend the womb space. So it's the same thing conception, gestation, labor, birth, postpartum, that those same things, you had the conception of meeting Jacques, and then you gestated it, you nurtured it, and finally birthed it out into the world in the same way, but protecting it, because I'm certain, well, in my case, I have had numerous, too numerous to count, opportunities to sell my soul. I mean, many. And I was wondering, have you had the same thing? Like, we're going to give you this many billions for your brand, and then we'll mass market it up. And the next thing you know, it'll be Morton's table salt.
I just had that conversation this morning. I'm serious. I did. And I would be like, it would feel like selling my soul. And there was a time where I was interviewing people in the natural products industry for my newsletter, and asking them, are you going to, sell out? And there's not very many pioneers left in the industry.
No, there are. I can tell you there are not. And even the past presidents of the American Holistic Medical Association, my group from way back that was founded in 1979 by Norm Shealy, a neurosurgeon. And the number of those, even the past presidents who've just folded and gone into the big pharma world, is shocking to me. However, you have your niece coming along,
right?
And when the younger people see it and when they get it, then they're bringing in all the tech savvy, all the ability to get it out there. Do you have someone who does all your social media?
Stephanie,
right?
Yeah,
right.
She's my queen.
Yeah, there it is. And it's such a beautiful brand.
Thank you.
Because you don't need to get into anything controversial. I have to get into controversial things because it's my work. But what we can say is everyone needs the right salt. And I've also worked with, there's a wonderful book called Quench. And it is how dehydrated most of us are, and how you rehydrate. And if you put one tiny pinch of salt in water, it makes it far more hydrating, and it alkalinizes it. And I would think that with your salts, the alkalinity is going to go up.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately, right?
Right. I tell people, when you get up in the morning, because you wake up in that kind of acid state, before you wake up, just put that water and just put that in there and then get up, because it really just helps you to alkalinize your body before you get out of bed.
Oh, that's a great idea. I will do that. I keep some good water by my bedside table, but now I'll just put a little thing in there. Where do you sell? Do you sell all over the world? Where are you with all that?
We are actually all over the world. I went to a Mind Valley in Portugal, a seminar, and there was a guy there checking into the hotel, and he's from Israel. And he said, "So what do you do?" And I says, "Well, I own the Celtic sea salt business." He goes, "Oh, my wife uses that."
Right.
You live in Israel? Are you kidding? And we are so blessed to have like iHerb. They sell it, and they're all over the world. Of course, Amazon and Thrive, those online stores we do sell. We still sell on our website too. We are in distribution, and I share that in the book, what that was like to go from a mail order business into the distribution world, and how I felt like I was selling my soul into that, because it was like all of a sudden I was giving up almost an additional 50 to 60% margin just to get on a shelf.
I know.
And there was no guarantee I would even stay on that shelf, because somebody else could buy that spot at any time. And that was really a growth spurt for me, to know if I was doing the right thing. There's been a lot of questioning if I've done the right thing in running this business from time to time, and just trusting. But yesterday we got a really great order from a manufacturer, and it was because I was able to source a salt in Spain that is with the SQF manufacturer. And this is something that big manufacturers with ingredients, they kind of require those kind of certifications. And God said, go visit these people in Spain and see it. And we just got a big order for that. So I go, okay, you did something right, you know? So I don't know if it's a woman thing or whatever, but I'm always questioning, am I doing the right thing or not?
Well, I think what we do know is this. We're living in a time where the feminine, in men as well as women, is rising up to meet the overly masculine world that we've lived in for a long time. So the feminine, for generations, has doubted itself because we've been made to doubt ourselves.
Right.
You know, it's the standard thing where a woman in a boardroom comes up with an idea. Everyone tells her to be quiet, and then another guy 3 minutes later comes up with the same idea, and he's a hero.
Right.
So we have that. But are you finding, one of the things that I'm finding, especially now after this last 2 years, I really, really trust my inner voice and trust what I know way more than I ever did. There really isn't anybody who can get me off my balance now. There used to be, because my media training was such that in the, you know, back in the 80s, 90s, early 200s, no one even believed in holistic medicine. They didn't believe in the mind-body connection. And so we went from that to seeing how big tech, big pharma, all that has kind of taken over people's intuition. But at this point, you can see that so clearly. I can see it so clearly.
I can see it. I can see. I used to call a mentor. Now I just go home and pray and meditate.
There,
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
There it is. You've made that connection.
Yeah. This morning I had my pendulum out. I was going to answer me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And what I tell people, particularly the fundamentalist Christians, is I say, look, Jesus comes through my pendulum, just like he comes through the Bible.
Absolutely.
You just have to have the right intention. And so tell me about the salt in Spain, where you're getting that. Has that created a little cottage industry? What's going on there?
Well, one of the one in Spain that I'm getting from manufacturers, that's a pretty big manufacturing place. But when I went to go see the, you know, and it's funny how we tend to have a vision of a big manufacturing, that they don't have the integrity. These people do have the integrity. I went there, I visited them, and the difference is they wash the salt. They wash it in brine. And the reason they do that is because there are manufacturers that can't have those little impurities that we eat in the garden anyway. And that's what they do. But when I went there, I was blown away. It's so pristine where they're actually harvesting it. It's just so beautiful. And when they wash it, if there's a little tiny speck, it's rejected, and they put it right back in and they keep washing it. So for that industry, I needed to have that kind of salt. So that's the one in Spain. And then we have the cave salt, and then we have another one that's from an underground salt river. And it's so amazing that there's a pipe that lets this water out into the salt flats, and there is no mechanism to make the water come out. They just open it up, and it's the pressure from the earth underground that makes it come up out of the water and you know, crystallize in the flats. And if they did not extract this water for this salt manufacturing, the rice paddies in the region could not produce because the earth would be too salty. So it's really complementing each other with that one. And that one I'm very excited about.
And that's in Spain?
Yeah, that's in Spain. These both are in Spain. One is over here, and it's more in Alicante area. And then the other one is like a little bit more, it's called where the salt mountain is. That's where they call it, Calva or something like that. And that's where the underground water is. And it's just, I mean, just to take the water from that pipe and drink it, it tastes so good. It's just amazing. Those I'm really proud of right now.
Definitely. Tell me about the salt mines underneath the Great Lakes. Do you know anything about those and what that salt is like?
No, I really don't. I have not investigated those at all. You mean like the real salt in Utah?
Well, all I know is there are apparently, salt mines underneath the Great Lakes where they have big trucks, and that's where they get the road salt for
Yeah,
salting the
right.
road.
And I just really have not gone down that path to explore industrial salt for that reason. Because I always start with the analysis, and if the analysis comes, then I go in and investigate even more. But I'm sure that salt probably comes with a lot of pure sodium chloride. I'm sure it doesn't have any
That's
salt in it.
yeah,
I don't know.
that's
Yeah.
probably true. Well, you've definitely awakened me to the Himalayan sea salt. It's like, I have both. I always have both on my counter. I've got the Celtic sea salt always.
Uh-huh.
And then, I get them in a bag of the Himalayan, but now I know what that is. It's like, well, that nuts to that. What about the volcanic salts, the black salt that you get
Yeah.
from Hawaii? What can you tell me about that?
I really have not, I don't know. I know they have a very strong sulfur flavor, and there is
Oh,
a source there that it's in Molokai, and but the flavor is very sulfur, and it is good for certain dishes, but I've never brought in specialty salts like that.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we have we've got your new product, which to me, one of the things we know about people who get acutely ill with the current thing that starts with a C, they're actually very often they're dehydrated.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get them hydrated
Mm-hmm.
with some sodium bicarb, believe it or not, and just some regular sodium, but I can imagine that this product that you have would be
Yeah, this one is amazing.
amazing if
Yeah.
someone is acutely ill.
Well, there was
To
a neurologist that my granddaughter was going to, and for his autistic community, he recommends this because it's really hard to have these children, that community, drink enough water the way they should. But they love this because it mimics their own tears, and the children love to drink this. So this is really a great application and really great for that reason, to hydrate, especially those people just aren't drinking enough water. But if you're traveling or hiking or whatever, it's so easy. And if I feel off and I feel a little dizzy or something, it brings me back immediately. You can feel it when you take it.
Okay, well, that is that is certainly good. One chapter 8, lessons from Dominic. Do you want to talk just a little bit about that one?
Gosh, where do I begin?
I know.
Gosh, well, I was in Northern California and I was pregnant, and everybody around me was having babies at home. And I thought, well, I'm going to have a baby from home. I was from Indiana, a Midwest town that we never heard of that. But I followed the same, tradition everybody was doing. And my story wasn't as successful as a lot of other people's story. And he got stuck in the birth canal, and he was, born in the sac. He was purple. And so he got brain damage from that, which just to from that. And I carried a lot of guilt with that, Dr.
Oh,
Miller.
I'll bet. Oh, God.
The guilt was
No.
horrendous.
Yes.
And, it wasn't until, as he got older, he lived to be 28 years old. And as he got older, he never spoke a word, so I couldn't say, what do you want? Everybody in, my family said, Selina, this is just really too much on you. You're not a caregiver. You need to put him someplace where they can take care of him. And I just vowed not to do that. I said, if God trusted me with him, then God's going to trust me to take care of him.
Yeah.
And even when I would go visit these places, I wouldn't put a dog in these places. So
right.
I just could not do it. Well, one of my, we went to a woman's business meeting at one time, and this woman came up to me, and her name was Jonna Ray, and she gave me her card, and it said something like mediumship. And I said, oh, do you talk to ghosts? Do you talk to people? She goes, it was a Christian group. So she goes, yep. She kind of said, keep it down, like that. And I said, I was so naive. I said, well, what do you do? I said, I said, my son doesn't talk, and I would love it if somebody could communicate for him to me. And she gave me her card, and I just put it away and didn't think anything about it. And I was born and raised Catholic and then Christian, and that stuff was from the dark side, I thought. Well, one of my directors of marketing contacted me, and I hadn't talked to her in over a year. And she said, I went to go see this psychic, but it was really weird because I kept thinking of Dominique the whole time, and the psychic even said, somebody's coming through, but it's not for you. And I said, give me her number. I'm going to call her right now.
Right.
I did. And as soon as I picked up the phone, she said, wow, I'm getting like download of messages. Somebody's been trying to talk to you for a long time, which was true. I'd been to a lot of Hay House seminars, and these people come up to me and go, you have a message. I go, okay, I'll talk to you later about it. Never
Right.
hear it, So I made an appointment, and this was on February 20th of 2007. And I went to go visit her, and she put the little recording on. She says, this is how it works. I'm going to record the session because you're not going to remember any of this. You're going to be, and she went into her place. The first thing she saw was me with many women in a circle with crystals. And she says, but these crystals have a flavor. And it was probably my salt.
Right, of course.
She says, there's no hierarchy here. It's just a lot of women. And I said, that's fine, but I came here for a reason. I really need to get a message from my son. So she comes back and she says, you and your son made an agreement to come here exactly the way he did.
Absolutely.
Their souls were talking to each other, and one of you said, I will volunteer to be the one with the special needs, and I will volunteer to be the caregiver. Dr. Northrup, as soon as she said that, my guilt went away. Like, I remember this conversation. That is how strong the conversation was.
Yes.
And I came to work the next day and told my employee, and she goes, oh my gosh, I want to talk to her. And I said, well, Dominique's going to cross over now. And she said, how do you know? And I said, there's something in me that knows.
Yeah.
She said, get some crystals because people will hold a memory in a crystal. So I went to this store, I can't remember when it was, Mystic Journeys. And I went in there and I said, I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't know what I'm doing, but my son's dying today and I need some crystals. And the guy said, well, behind you happens to be the lady that sources our crystals. She's in from Florida and she's stocking them. And I turned around and I said, I need some crystals for my son. He's dying today. And she says, I see his angels right now and they're ready to take him. And I went, oh, at that same time, my son's caregiver calls and says, Dominique's breathing is really strange. And I went, okay. I got the crystal. She actually had me hold my hand over the crystals, and she said, the crystals will talk to you and help you pick the crystals. And I picked a crystal for all of his sisters, a grandmother, a grandfather, and I picked one for each one. So I'm getting ready to check out, and this guy's on the phone, and he's making tickets to go see John Holland or some psychic guy. And I said, I'll buy 2 tickets. And he said, oh, and I said, yeah, because my son's dying today. And they go, how do you know this? And are you turning the machines off? I said, no, I just know it. He said, well, would you put this around his neck? And he gave me this little purple angel to put around his neck. And I said, sure. And I took it. And I wasn't even sad. I wasn't emotional. It was just like, I'm having a baby today. It was the strangest thing. So I get in the car, drive to Hot Springs to where Dominique was with the caregiver. And I walk in the door and I could smell my sister-in-law, which is Stephanie's mom. She died when Stephanie was 9 years old. She was 40 years old. And I could smell her. I don't know why, and she promised me I will be there to receive him when he crosses. And I could smell her. And I couldn't hear my caregiver. She was like a Charlie Brown movie, and I couldn't even hear her. But when I walked in the room and Dominique was laying on the couch, he looked over at me and a little tear came out of his eyes. And I said, I remember, Dominique. I remember. I'm so sorry it took me this long to remember, but I remember. And I said, it's time for you to go. I laid those crystals on the windowsill next to him, and I put each one in his hand. And I said, leave a message for all the people that love you, and I will give that to them. And I laid him on my chest. And my caregiver says, well, I'm going to leave you two alone. She put some music on. And I just laid there and I said, it's time for you to go. And I put the last crystal in his hand, and he just went, his eyes were wide open, and I just said, is this it? I didn't know what I was supposed to do. And when I lifted him up off of me to put him on the couch, he made a sound. I went, oh, okay, he's okay. But it was just the air, I think, trapped in him or something.
Yes.
And I laid him over, and then I just was freaking out going, oh, what do I do now, God? I don't know. What am I supposed to do? And I could hear it with my mind's ear saying, just be, but go get a piece of paper. I went and got a piece of paper and I started writing, and he started writing through me Mommy, thank you so much for bringing me into this world. Thank you so much. Tell Carla this, tell Colette this. And that was it. And I couldn't have made that up. I told so many people. I stopped at the store and they said, what are you doing today? I said, my son's crossing over today. Like I had to tell everybody this story because nobody would believe me.
No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't.
Yeah. And but I am so gifted to have that story. And the fact that Dominique wanted to have that story, he could have died without me. There could have been so many other ways. And I resisted hearing a psychic what our story and what we were supposed to do for so many years. And he died on, February 26, 222. You just can't make that up.
No.
No, you cannot make that up.
No, not at all. That is a beautiful story. And there's so much confusion about that. There's so much confusion in the Christian world. And it's all truth. It's all truth. You don't need to worry about the darkness getting in. Oh, and yeah, there are psychopaths currently running the situation. On that note, I have to say goodbye. I realized we're out of time. What a pleasure it has been to meet you finally in this way.
And you are such a blessing to me. You don't know how many times I say your name in my life. I mean, so many times I say your name. You have touched me in so many ways, Your book, your advice. I miss you so much on social media every day. Oh, I miss that so much.
I know. I wish I could do it. I do voice memos on Telegram. So I will come in and do a voice memo on Telegram. I'm hoping that there will be another venue. I just lost the ability to live stream Instagram and had a third channel on there that I didn't do much with, but that just went away. And something else will come. Something else will come.
You're in my blessing ball every morning. I just want you to know, and I'm sure you're in a lot of people's blessing balls. So you're definitely in mine. And just thank you for everything you do. And please continue to do what you're doing.
I will. And you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.